Hello, hello. Welcome, everybody. Sorry I'm late. My sister just popped in to drop some stuff off. But welcome to our Joybox tutorial for August. Wait, is this right? Yeah. I hope everyone's doing great. I hope you guys are finding time to do a little crafting. I have my supplies here. If you're able to join tonight, say hi. Let me know what you're up to. And who's getting ready to go back to school? I am sending my son off to college this weekend, so it's been a little hectic and a little sad around here. But anyways, let's see. All right, so Joybox this month is this super cute farmer's market or market toolbox, I guess you want to call it. Where is mine? Let me grab it. And we sent some extra stuff. So my goal is, because we removed the paint and all of that, I wanted to just kind of surprise you with extra stuff, whether it be tools or an extra little craft, or I don't know, maybe we do a painting once a month or every once in a while. I love painting. And I know some of you in the group do too. So we might do something like that. But anyways, so you might be seeing some little surprises once in a while in the group, in your box. But so this is our market toolbox. And this is so cute, you guys. I made it so it could be used for a variety of things. You could, put a piece of green block in here. The floral block fits in here. You could add flowers, switch it out seasonally. But also, and this is my water jug or my water paint jug. It fits mason jars. It will fit 3 mason jars in there. You could paint the mason jars, fill them with flowers or candles. Gosh, you could put your favorite paint in there, mason jars, and put your supplies in there. It's so versatile and so cute. So I'm excited about this one. We are actually a 3D item this time, which is the first time I've tried this. So you'll have to let me know. When we try something new, you guys gotta let me know how it goes. But that is what we're making. So let's talk about your insert in your box. Again, write yourself on the calendar. Your time is valuable. Make time for yourself. And I know it's hard to maybe get into that groove. I find sometimes at night when I'm super tired and I've had a long day, and it's been super stressful or super hard mental day, I don't want to sit at my desk and craft. It feels overwhelming. It feels like a huge task or a chore, but we have to stop and remember the benefits of it and how it makes us feel afterwards. So hopefully that helps. You're not alone if you feel like it feels overwhelming. I do too. And I try and have like a small little project on the side of my desk that I'm able to just kind of grab and paint, just something that I can. And my thought process when that happens is I'm just going to put the base coat on, right? I keep it small. I keep it to, I'm going to spend 5 minutes and just get the base coat on this project, or I'm going to, get it all laid out and get that first coat on. And then I can walk away if I feel like I need to do something else. And by the time that's all done, I'm in that groove and I just keep going, which is awesome. So I hope that helps. Open your box, inspect all the items, let us know if anything's missing or damaged. We love to see your finished projects, so make sure to post them in the group. I love seeing what you guys have done. I love seeing all your different styles. So please share. This month's box includes a 6-piece tool box. So You're gonna have two of these pieces. They've got the flat, and then they've got this stepped keyhole key system at the bottom, and we'll talk about that. Then you're going to have the bottom, and it's got the zigzags or those tabs along all the sides, and it's a little bit wider than this. So this is your bottom of your toolbox. This is your handle, and then these two pieces are your side, and they're interchangeable. Same with these guys. These are interchangeable. It doesn't matter. I've got my sticker on mine, so I'll have that one be on the outside, but these are interchangeable. Okay, then you'll have a little baggie with your jute, and let me just open this up here. Your jute, you also will have what I call plugs or nails, or I really don't have a better description than plugs, but this is what's going to hold your handle in place. So let me bring mine back. This is the little plug, so it kind of goes through that opening, and that keeps your handle in place from sliding around in that side piece. Okay, and then you've got 8 brackets. So these are those decorative brackets. We'll put on the corners, one on the top and one, do we do one on, just one on the top of each corner. Okay, so you have 8 of those. So also they're different sizes. You're gonna have 4 long ones, and then these are the short guys. The short ones, okay? And I'll explain why they're different sizes here when we get started. So you've got that. And then we also, part of the special surprise is creating a beaded garland to decorate with your box, wrap around your box, or use it in some other way. So this is what we're going to create. And so for this special surprise, you have 30 beads. Now, I was having my son help me bag up beads, and he misheard my number. So you're gonna have 25 in one bag, and then you'll have 5 more in with your brackets, because he thought I said 25, not 30. It was a miscommunication. Anyways, that is your beads for the garland. We also included a skewer, and you might have some. I wasn't sure if you did, but I wanted to include those because this makes painting the beads and drying the beads super helpful. And I'll show you how to use that. If you have more than one, you can use, I've got, typically about 10 in my little tool bin here that I use constantly, but they're super helpful. And then also you get a tassel maker. So this is my tassel maker. It's got the little bird at the top. It's going to make a 2.5-inch tassel. So that is a handy tool to have for future use. Okay. So that's everything that comes in your, and the market plate. Where's my market plate? Where is it? Let me grab my market plate. I must have dropped it. There it is. So this is a little plate, a little piece you can put on the side of your box. I also thought it would be cute on the other end of the garland if you wanted to. You could tie it through one of these little holes, but however you want to use that. Okay, and then what you're going to need is your paint and your favorite colors. Excuse me. I'm going to use white, black, and burnt umber today. And do kind of a rustic finish. So I'm going to have my makeup wedges. I have those ready here. And then glue, a large flat brush, and a chip brush. I said glue, right? Where is my glue? You can use wood glue. I've got some, I'm hoping enough of my super glue left to finish this project. I'm gonna set it up here upside down while it drains. And then some baby wipes, masking tape, sandpaper, a water rinse cup, a paint plate, rags, paper towels, and a blow dryer if you wish to speed the process up. Remember, this is a scan code that you can scan with your phone. That's going to take you directly to the Facebook group and will get you right where you need to quickly. And we have one new person this month. I'm just going to double check that I haven't seen her join yet. I'll make sure she didn't try and pop in, right? Member requests, not yet. Okay. Just wanted to check we didn't have any new members trying to join today to get the video. So, and then the other links, if you need your member login, if the link to the Facebook community, which is the same, and then an email if you need anything, support@redbyrddesigns.com. So, let's get started. All right, so we're going to start with the box first. I'm just going to lay my pieces out. Oh, I wanted to share this with you guys. So, you know, or I'm sure I've told you, but I bought these waxed sheets off Amazon. It's a 500 sheet box, and they're perfect for my paint. I like using that opposed to anything else. I can throw it away. It's paper, recyclable, that type of thing. But having it on something so it doesn't soak through onto my table was important. So I've been kind of keeping my eye out for something pretty but functional. And I found this little tray at the dollar store. And marble really isn't my thing, but the fact that it had this area with little lips was kind of a big deal. And then these little second areas were kind of fun. I thought I could use for something else. So it's supposed to be like a desk organizer. Maybe you put your pens and then a maybe a sticky note thing, and then I don't know, rubber bands or something. Anyways, it's for desk organizing, and they have other things with this pattern, but I found that my little sheets sit perfectly in there, and then I can kind of maybe use this for my other tools. So anyways, I just wanted to share that with you. I thought it was super cute from the dollar store. Okay, back to it. I get distracted easy when I'm crafting. Too much excitement. Okay. Just gonna double check one last time that all my stuff is okay. If you're on and you can't hear me, let me know. If I'm laggy, let me know. Looks like all of my stuff is okay. All right. So I've got my stuff there, and I think it's gonna work out pretty well. As always, I always start by taping down everything I want to tape down. Masking tape, sticky side up, acts like a little tray for all our small pieces, helping us hold them while we paint. So I'm going to put my market on one piece. And I fold my corner over a little bit because I like to have a little grab handle that I don't get stuck to. So if you see me do that, that's why I fold that corner over. It's just something I do to, again, keep it from sticking to me. So we'll put our little brackets here. Remember, you have 4 short ones and then 4 long ones. So these little holes are supposed to be like little nail holes in brackets. And they kind of give that illusion that they are There's a little nail there. And then I'll put my little nails or plugs here at the end. Brackets. They're really not brackets. Plugs is the best word I can think of, I guess. That works. Okay. All right. So those are taped down. I'll put that aside and we'll start painting this guy. So what I did is I'm not going to paint my bottom. I'm not going to see inside my box ever, and I'm not going to see the bottom of the box. So I'm actually going to put this piece aside. This is the wider piece, so it's wider than your sides, and it's got the tabs on all the sides. So you can put that aside, or if you choose to paint it, you most definitely can. Okay, so I'm going to start by painting all my pieces with a brown, with my burnt umber. You can do this a couple different ways. You can use your brush. You can use a baby wipe to create a faux stained look, however you want to do that. Maybe you want to stain your box. I'm going to paint it brown first, and then I'm going to go on the top with white to create a more of a rustic, chippy paint look. And I want to see that dark brown kind of peeking through that white paint. So if you wanted to, you could use a different base color. Let's say you wanted to see like a green that kind of peeks through, or a red. Maybe you wanted to see a teal color peeking through. You can change up your base color to whatever you want it to be. Whenever you want to see that little bit of paint kind of coming through. And let me just explain what that looks like. So like on this piece, when we do our chip brush, we're going to let some of that undercoat be revealed. And so that's where you would see that different color, is in these little bits where we're not actually applying a full paint. You can see the dark there as well. So I'm going to start by putting this base coat on all my pieces. Can you believe that summer is almost over? It's pretty sad. I know a lot of times as moms we're like, yay, summer's over, our kids are back in school, but I don't know, I feel like summers seem to go by a lot faster than they used to. And maybe because we try and fit so much in that we're always so busy that they fly by, I'm not sure, but it just didn't seem like we got to do as much as I wanted to. Gosh, I think we went out to the lake maybe 3 times. And saying that out loud is really sad. That's really sad. Because we so enjoy it. And we did camp once, which is another thing that I absolutely love doing. But anyways, yeah. Life just seems to be going a lot faster. Maybe it's because I'm getting older and that's just the way it works. I don't know. But like I mentioned earlier, we are getting ready to take our son to college this weekend. So we're going to have, our son will be a freshman college student, and then our youngest son will be a freshman in high school this year. It's crazy. So Joybox is open. I'm sure you've all seen the announcement. Next month is, I'm super excited about it. I'm super excited about the little surprise. And hopefully I can keep my mouth shut today about it and not reveal it. I might have to do a little sneak peek. I'm kind of like my mom. My mom is the worst at giving gifts. She buys us gifts for our birthday or whatever months and months in advance. Like she's super good about, remembering to think about things, all of that. And then she can't hold on to it. Like a week after she buys it, she's like, I bought this for your birthday and I just can't hold on to it any longer. I'm a little better than her, but anyways. All right, so for those of you that maybe just want to do a stained box and who haven't seen the faux stained method, you can create a stain with any color of paint that you have. You do not have to have a stain to create a stained look. So I'm using just this burnt umber paint. I'm going to use a baby wipe. I'm going to dip my baby wipe into the paint and rub it on. And instantly you just get this really cool stained look. Okay. So if you want to have a stained box, that is one way that you can do that, using that faux stain method with a baby wipe. So I just wanted to quickly show that real quick before I go on and paint my other sides. When you're painting with acrylic paint, any sort of craft paint, it doesn't have to be Apple Barrel. It can be Deco Art. It can be Anita's, Craft Smart. I'm trying to think of all the ones out there. Folk Art. It all dries super fast if you put light coats on. So the key to painting anything really is multiple light coats. The heavier the coat, the longer it takes to dry, and the more clumpy of a finish you'll get. It's just the way it is. I don't care how many times you just softly brush that thick coat on, it will not dry nice and smooth like a thin coat would, multiple thin coats. So this is going to be the inside of my box. I have this sticker here, and I'm not going to worry about taking it off because it's the inside of my box. But I do want to paint the inside, mostly because we'll see just about a quarter or an inch down the inside of the box. Whether you fill it with flowers or jars or something, you might get a peek of the inside of the box. And so that's why I am painting this piece, even though, you really don't need to. And that's why I'm not paying too much attention to that sticker. We're just going to cover it right up. I'm going to worry about trying to peel it off. And then obviously the handle and the sides, you will see both sides. So you do want to paint those. One thing to know while you're painting your handle is to try not to get too much paint down in these little tabs where your plug is going to go. It will fit and it will push out any paint that you get on there, but you just want to kind of keep that in mind. Also, in this little opening on the side pieces, try not to get too much paint down in there because your handle slides in and it's going to be a tight fit. You want it to be tight, but it slides in like that. And if this is caked with tons of paint in there, it's not going to fit. And you're going to have to do a little extra work to get it to fit in the terms of like sanding it out and things like that. Okay, there we go. So I'm going to let these dry for a little bit. I'm actually going to kind of set them upright since both sides have been painted. And they're pretty much dry on that back side, but I'll just give them a little more airflow through both sides. And we're going to bring these over. All right, so I'm going to do my market in black and my brackets in black, and I'm also going to do my plug in black. You could do a gold, a bronze. I might pull out my bronze. We'll see. But I thought, you know, I wanted these to look like metal, whether it be the black metal brackets that we see a lot on things, or you could glam it up just a little bit and do it in gold. So you could have a glammy farmhouse look, which is kind of what next month is all about. Glam plus farmhouse. Okay. So I've got just a little black here. I'm going to use a makeup wedge. Now the makeup wedge, let me see if I have a full one. This is what a full one looks like. I hold it by the skinny end and use this larger surface to paint with. But I am a saver. What's the word I want to use? I'm not sure. It'll come to me. But I like to be able to use my supplies multiple times. So what I do, and because this surface is way too big for these little pieces, it seemed like a waste. So I will most the time cut my makeup wedges in half. Now you've got two, okay? And then to top it off, I will not wash my makeup sponges because, well, I'm lazy. I know what that word, I know that word, it isn't escaping me. And then I will let this end dry with the paint on it and then just snip it off. So then they start to shrink. So you can kind of see how they're getting a little smaller and smaller until I can't hold it anymore. And so I can get quite a bit of uses out of one makeup sponge. So keep that in mind as you're buying supplies. One pack of makeup sponges, whether you get that from Walmart or a pharmacy, Walgreens. I want to say the Dollar Tree, but I have had the hardest time finding them at the Dollar Tree. And so I can't really guarantee that they'll be there. All Dollar Trees are so different. And I think you can get them there if it's got that Family Dollar next to it. So it's the Dollar Tree Plus, where it has the side that has cheap stuff, but more expensive than $1. I think you can get them on that side. So you can get a pack for, I think it's like $3.99. Is kind of what I've seen in terms of the Dollar Tree. But I just go to Walmart and grab a pack, and they last me forever. So when you're using the makeup sponge, we're going to dip it, and let's see if I kind of bypass that. So this is a lot of paint on my makeup sponge. It's a glob of paint. We don't want to paint with that. I'll either squeegee it off or I'll tap it somewhere else on my pad here so that I just don't have any globs. It's a nice smooth surface. That helps that makeup wedge pick up and soak up that paint a little bit on that end. And then I just use a nice light tapping motion. Remember, light coats, black covers very well, but if you're dealing with, let's say you're painting your brackets white or something, it's not going to look all that great that first coverage, right? It's going to be splotchy. That first coat is always not good. But the more layers you put down, the better it will be. Typically, it's 2 to 3 layers if it's a really light color. Like white or yellow is a really hard to cover color. Trying to think, orange can be hard too. And I'll do my plugs black. There we go. So we'll set those aside. We're going to bring back our box. So it's a little bit damp. No paint is coming off my finger, but a quick little tip, if your pieces feel cool to the touch, that means they're damp. And you might be like, well, no paint's coming off, but they feel pretty cool. That means they're damp, they're wet. You should blast them or let them sit for a little bit longer. So I'm gonna just blast mine with this heat gun here. A blow dryer works good. When using a blow dryer, make sure that you don't get too close to your surface because it can make your paint crack. And especially if it's really thick paint, it's kind of where you see that happening. If you're doing nice light coats, it shouldn't be a problem. So this is a heat gun. I'm not sure if you've seen me use this. I can't remember if I used it last month or not. I got this as a hand-me-down from a Stampin' Up. I think I got it actually at a yard sale. So it's a Stampin' Up brand, but you can get these off Amazon. And the only difference between this and a blow dryer is this puts out a more hot air, but at a lower speed. Whereas a blow dryer, obviously for your hair, you don't want it to get too hot, but it's a faster speed. So it just, some people say it works faster because it's such a hotter air. I've yet to prove that quite yet though, but I'm testing it out. It seems to work. Okay. So what we're going to do next is I'm actually going to put my box together next because if you'll notice, you see some of these little tabs on each side, and I want them to all look a little, I want it to look seamless, and I want my next coat of paint to paint those pieces too. I don't want to have to go back and do that twice. And so if you want to paint the inside of your box and make it look really pretty, I would do that before putting it together so it's not such a pain. I kind of just slot paint inside there because I'm going for that rustic look. So that's up to you. You can paint your pieces with your second coat now, or you can after it's put together. Either way works. Okay, so before I put my pieces together, one thing to note about wood is that wood and water don't mix. And plywood is a bunch of smaller pieces of wood glued together. And that's what this is. And this happens with regular wood too, any kind of wood. The little fibers get wet and they tend to stand up. So it can start to feel rough. If your pieces feel rough after your first coat, grab a sandpaper, a sand block, and just lightly sanded to brush down those fibers and make it smooth again. So that's what I'm going to do next. Now, it kind of will make it look like it's dull like this, but I'm okay with that. One, because I'm putting a top coat on of white. So what it looks like right now is fine. If this was going to be the, you know, end result, I would put another coat on just to get rid of the scratches that you see. Typically, when you're sanding, you sand right before your final coat. And then you can even sand after your final coat to kind of rough it up and make it look worn too. I'm just going to sand both sides because they're feeling a little rough. There we go. Okay, so I've got my glue here, and hopefully we're gonna be good to go. I might have to go get a new one. It's a bit old. So let's go through the process of putting this together. So I'm gonna kind of dry fit everything together just so you see how it goes. This is our bottom, and this is the side. This is the side that's gonna be on the inside of my box. So as I lift it up, this is the outside, this is the inside. So keep that in mind if you have maybe a knot you don't want to see or something, and you want to put that on the inside. So it's going to sit like this, okay? So then I'm going to get my other side. This is the inside as I lift it up to fit on my base. This is the outside. So I kind of lay out my pieces, how they're going to lift up and onto the base, okay? And then same with this. I just kind of inspect it and kind of see which side I want to have be my inside. And the handle doesn't matter right this second. And we're going to go this way with it. It's got this kind of funky knot on the back. Okay? All right. So then the next step is this tab fits into this. This tab fits there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put glue just right along these little tabs here. Let me get something bright so I can show you a little bit better. Right along that tab, second and third. And then for the piece that's getting lifted up, I'm going to put glue on this tab, this tab. So we've got 4 tabs on the side, okay? And I do recommend using a faster drying glue for this project, although, you know, if you're using an all-purpose glue, that would work too. It's just take a little longer to hold it. So I'm gonna just hold it here. I've kind of got my finger here, and I'm kind of, with my thumb here, I'm squeezing that together there, and I'm gonna squeeze it here. And I'm gonna hold it here for a second while that glue sets up. The only glue that I don't really recommend using is a glue gun. Although you can use it, you just really have to be careful that you squeeze your pieces together to get that glue nice and flat, because it's such a thick glue. it will cause your seams to kind of bulge. Okay, there we go. Okay. And if it's not completely set up, that's fine. I'm just going to keep going on here to the other side. So I'm going to flip this over and bring this piece on this side. And again, we're going to go right on top of those tabs. We've got 3 tabs on our base, and we've got 4 tabs on the sides that are going to make that connection point. We lift it up, we set it down, we're going to slide it right into those tabs, and then now this is kind of where it gets just a little tricky, especially if this one hasn't dried, because it's going to fluctuate on me. It's going to wobble a little bit, but just be patient. Just try and keep them as straight up as you can while you're holding your pieces together. Okay. Okay. All right, so then on this one, I'm not going to worry. Actually, that's not true. I have 1 tab here on my base, right? So I'm going to grab my glue and put a little glue there. And then I've got 2 tabs here, and I also have 2 tabs on the side. So I'm going to do all 4 of those. Okay, and that's going to kind of, what I do is I slide my bottom in, okay, and then slowly lift it up so that those tabs will fit into my sides. And it might take just a little wiggling. And there we go. So your sides should have a little flex to them, even if, let's say you glued them in and they're kind of turned a little bit, or maybe they got glued and they're slanted in or they're slanted out. You should still have a little flexibility to move those to fit into your sides. I just want to make sure I'm not sticking to my table. The first time I did this, I put so much glue on my piece that I didn't realize it, and the glue squirted out the bottom of my base and stuck to my table. There we go. All right, so the other side here, we've got our tab on our base. That's going to get some glue. Just a little bit more, okay. And then on our side piece here, we've got the tab on each side and 2 tabs along the bottom. I think this is the last project for this glue. I keep trying to squeeze just one more project out of it. There we go. Okay, so again, we just kind of slide it in, line it up so those tabs are sliding right in that base, and then I lift it up and adjust. I can kind of move my sides around just a little bit to make room for my side. Whoop. I just blew the bottom out. Let's try that again. There we go. Okay. There we are. And there is our box. So I'm just going to sit here and squeeze my 4 corners. So I'm squeezing like this, and then with these fingers, I'm kind of pushing in with that. they're kind of bent and kind of pushing in while I squeeze my corners that way too. Now, if you're finding that your box isn't holding together, maybe you've got a seam down here that didn't quite connect. Like I have one down here where my end is kind of flaring out. What I can do is I can grab a little more glue. I'm going to just grab some wood glue and I'm going to just put a little bit back in that corner and then squeeze it and hold it while that sets up. So if you have a corner that just didn't quite connect, it's fixable. Just throw some glue down inside here and then squeeze and hold. And this one is going to take quite a bit of squeezing. So I'm going to just kind of hold that while I talk. Let's see if I can use some tape to hold it. So I'm going to use some masking tape and see if I can get it to help me hold my piece closed there. While we put the handle on here. I'm going to put some tape there. Squeeze it and then bring that tape around to the other side. There we go. So essentially I've used my masking tape to kind of hold my pieces together while I work on the other bits. Clean up some glue here that's coming out the bottom. So masking tape can hold our tiny pieces and be little clamps for us as well. Okay. Next is our handle. I'm going to slide it in one side first. So I'm kind of, let me bring it to the side here. I'm coming above, am I getting at a right angle? Yeah. I'm coming above this side here, so I'm coming in at an angle, and I'm going to slide that handle in my slot. Let's see if I can get it in there here. There we go. And you kind of just got to wiggle it a little bit, work it a little, and it can go pretty far, right? It's way further than I need it to, but I needed it to go far enough so now I can lower it and put it in this side. And just be careful. Everything's just a little flexible. Don't be afraid to kind of move your sides around just a little bit. Just don't go and pull your box apart. But now I can lower it and just gently slide this piece in my other side here. I might have got some paint in there. See if it's... If you're having a hard time getting this in here because of paint, like I warned you about, and I just kind of maybe got a little too much paint in there. We can take a sandpaper, and I'm going to take a sandpaper and I'm just going to rub it on the inside of that little slot on both sides. The other thing that works great is a nail file. See if I have mine to show you. There it is. So I like using these little nail files. You can pick them up at the dollar store. They fit perfect in these little slots. And I'm just going to get that paint out of there. I must have got a little paint in there. And sometimes wood is different sizes on different pieces. You might not have any issues, or you might have issues like me. There we go. And just takes a little finesse. There we go. So you want it so that you just see the slot on each side. Whoops. Okay. I guess I can go like that. That might be a little easier to hold. Okay, then once you've got that in, your box is pretty much done. You can put your plugs in right now, but I want to paint kind of around this area with white, and I want my plugs to stay black, so I'm not going to put my plugs in quite yet. Okay. Okay. So the next step then, now that everything's kind of put together, you'll notice that this plug kind of gets covered up when I'm not holding it. That's okay. It's in there, and we'll have a little play once we're ready to put our plugs in. Okay. If you want your plugs to be a different color, then wait. If not, you can put your plugs in now. All right. So let's get our top coat out, which is going to be white. You can use any color you want. Okay. And I'm going to use a chip brush for this. So I'm going to set this on its side so you can see it. And I'm going to use a dry brush method. So the dry brush method is just like it sounds. We want our brush to be dry. So I have my white paint here, and using a chip brush is really great because it's got super stiff bristles and they're kind of just everywhere, right? They just go wherever you want. This one is super old. It's even got rust on it. I like them, the older and the more use out of them, the better. I really don't like using a brand new chip brush if I don't have to, because it's not as crusty and stiff as I want it to be. But what we want to do is I'm going to dip it in, and I have a ton of paint on my bristles, and that's not a dry brush. So now I'm going to take it to a clean spot, and I'm going to offload it. I'm going to get most of that paint, or as much as I can, off. One, that helped get paint on all the bristles, and two, it helped get rid of a lot of that paint. So now I'm ready to dry brush, and I am going to just come in and go back and forth. And just apply that paint to my box. So that's super light. I'm going to add another coat of paint. So I'll load it, then I'm going to offload it. I'm going to come in and add more. I'm going to leave some areas showing more of the dark. I'm going to add paint more to some areas. It's just kind of how you want it to look. Do you want to see less dark? Do you want to see more of that undercoat? Kind of stop where you feel it looks perfect for your style. So let me just show you an example. This has got more white. This has got obviously less light. So you can kind of play around with how much paint is on your brush and how many coats you do. So I'm going to do one more. Just kind of put in a little bit more. And I'm kind of also using the chip brush to get kind of inside these little tabs. Your tabs might not all meet up. Again, the wood might be a little different in thickness because of the manufacturer, so they might not meet up all that well. But the point is to have an old rustic toolbox. And so if your seams aren't perfect, that's okay. We're okay with that. We're okay with it not being perfect. Okay. So then I'm going to go to my side and do the same thing. And I will turn it this way so you can see what I'm doing. Again, I'm just kind of going up and down on this piece instead of side to side. And just kind of messily working my way around that slot and handle up there. Okay. And then I'm going to do this side. For the most part, I like to just continually just go in one way with my brush strokes. So I'll typically go left to right or up or down. But play around with that. A lot of times, you know, scrapes and scratches on old wood isn't always right to left, you know, or up or down. And using your brush in different ways can kind of mimic maybe a scratch on your surface. I wouldn't do it all the time in all this, you know, the whole thing, but every once in a while to have a brush stroke go the wrong way can kind of mimic a bad scratch on your wood or something like that. Okay. All right. So I've got all my outside pieces done. And now I'm going to kind of turn it upside down so I can see the inside of my side pieces and my handle. So I'm just going to take it and bring my chip brush in the side here. And I'm not going to worry about going all the way down inside my box. I'm just going to go down about an inch in to where I think, you know, whatever I'm going to store in this box is going to get covered up, is going to cover that up anyways. I'm also kind of putting a little bit of paint on my edges here, and on this edge here and on that edge. I'm not worrying that it's going to cover up completely the edge because we're going for that rustic look anyways. If you are painting it more of a solid paint color, and doing more of a clean look, which is absolutely okay, you'll just want to take some time and get your edges nice and clean, which might take, you know, 2 or 3 coats for those edges because they are a little darker than the actual wood itself because of that laser cut. So you can kind of see inside, I'm not going all the way down. So now I'm going to flip it over to get my other side of my handle. And that allows me to get my other edge here and the top there. And then I'm going to get the top of my edges here. So once you've got all your sides, your handle painted, your front and your back, you just kind of want to, turn your box around, make sure that, you've got all your edges. Whether you left them unpainted or you paint them, you want them to all kind of be the same. So I'm just going to go around and do a little touch up. See where I want more white. And I'm also going to just kind of get inside these edges here a half an inch. Oh, perfect. It's the perfect rustic look. Okay, I'm gonna bring it up so you can see. All of my edges are painted, my sides. Kind of see the inside, how I did that, where I'm just an inch down inside there. I'm going to put some jars in mine and maybe put my brushes in there or my pens and things like that. I think that'd be cute. Okay, now that we've got it painted, it is ready for, we can put the plugs on. So the plug, you want your painted side out, and I'm just going to slide this in. It's going to be a tight fit. You want it to be tight. If it's too tight and you can't get it to slide in, maybe because paint got in that little knob, just take it. I'm just going to put this one in. So it just sits in there. Push it in as far as it will go. It's about halfway, right? If you can't get it to fit, a quick little tip is on the unpainted side. So I'm holding it painted side up, and I'm just going to run it across my sandpaper. Essentially, we're sanding that back side off. And that's just an easy way to sand that little piece. So you're not having to try and sand inside this one. And I've had a little paint stick there. Okay. So I'm going to slide this in. There we go. And then I'm going to just kind of push this piece up to that plug. And there we are. Kind of reminds me of old nails. I don't know if you've ever seen like an old nail from maybe an old barn or something, but they used to look, they were flat like this, and they were not nearly as thick, but they were flat and they were shaped like this, but just longer. And they were just, it was just, when I saw a few of them, it was the oddest thing. Okay. Let's get our brackets on, and then we're going to do our beaded garland. So your bracket could go here. You could put it up here. It's a little bit bigger than your handle. I mean, it's a little too big for the side, but you can use your bracket wherever you want. You don't have to even use your bracket if you don't want to. Remember, this is your project, and I'm only here to guide you. I really want you to make each of your projects your own. Do not feel like just because your project came with pieces that you have to use them. You're like, I want to use this in my bathroom. I don't want it to say market on it, then leave that part off. You might find another use for this little plate somewhere else in another project. So I'm literally just eyeballing it. Again, this is kind of a rustic piece, so it's okay if it's not perfect. But you can get your measure ruler out if you want, if you don't trust yourself. Okay, so the brackets, the bigger brackets are on what I would consider the front and the back. The smaller brackets are on the side. So the way that I designed this is the brackets are overlapping each other so they don't have that funky little gap. Like if you put them end to end right on those edges, you'd have a gap there. So I wanted to be able to cover up that and make it look like it was an L-shaped bracket. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by putting my brackets on my ends or sides, if you would. And we're using the small brackets for this piece. Okay. There we go. I got just enough. And I am putting them right on. Let me just double check that that's what I did. Yes. Okay. So there's these tabs here. You'll see a line. I'm putting the bottom of the bracket on that line. And that just helps guide me so my bracket on this side will be the same. You can put your brackets on the bottom, the top, the middle. I need to just keep my lid on that and having it set up. So I have that little line where my two pieces came together for my box, and I'm going to put my bracket on there. And I'm going to line it up with this edge, just like I did on this side. Just line it up. And again, if they're not perfectly straight, I'm okay with that. This box, I want it to look like it has come out of an old barn from ages ago. Okay. So I'm going to give that just a second to set up because they're kind of still wet and I feel like they're going to slide on me. Okay. So then we'll go to this, we'll go to the other side and do the other side. Two small brackets. And just make sure that your pieces are nice and set before moving on so they don't slide around on you as you're moving your piece. Okay. Lining those edges up. I'll give that a second to set up. Okay. So then we're going to go to the back or the front, it doesn't matter. And when you're gluing this edge, you want to be on the edge of the bracket. You want to cover that little bit of the bracket up, and that will make it look like it's more of a one-piece bracket instead of two separate pieces. Okay. So I am lining this edge up with the edge of the bracket there. Kind of make sure it's somewhat straight. And we're going to come over here, line this bracket up. Okay. And we're going to flip it around and do the same on the front. Oh, one of my brackets fell off. I didn't wait, guys. I was being impatient. The other thing when you're gluing your pieces together to keep in mind is glue does not like to set up on wet paint. It does not. It will not dry, will not adhere. All right. Oh my gosh, isn't that just so cute? I love it. This is such a fun project. I hope you enjoy it too. Okay, the other thing that you can do to just kind of distress it a little bit more is take your sanding block or sandpaper and kind of sand your edges and soften them up a little bit. You can sand your brackets or your plate here, your market plate. And your brackets. And sanding it after we've painted it like this just softens your sanding or your brush strokes a little bit. It gives it the look of a softer edge to kind of reveal some of that wood. You don't have to do this, and especially if you're just painting it a solid color. But I like the look of those soft edges. Just use a light hand. Don't get too aggressive. And make sure, you know, everything's dry and set up before you start sanding things so you're not breaking or peeling back anything. Okay. All right. One last thing that we want to do is the way that we glued this, we're seeing a little end of that one bracket. We want to make that look like it's a continuous L-shaped bracket. So I'm going to grab some black paint and just dab it on that cut edge of the longer bracket. Need to get a little more black paint. It's hard to see in the video because of all the white. It kind of blows it out, but you'll see it when you start, when you're finishing your piece. You'll notice it looks brown compared to, you know, that black bracket. Let me see if I can hold it up and share with you. You see those brown little pieces on the end there? That's what we want to cover up. So I'm just going to dab it. And so whatever color bracket that you decided to go with, that's what you'll want to do just to finish that out. And then there we go. That is your little flower box, toolbox, whatever you want to use for I'm excited to see what you use it for. Make sure to post pictures of it. Okay, let's go on to this here. Now, I'm going to use a bowl here just to hold my pieces. Actually, let me grab a second one. You can use your box to hold your pieces, you know, that your joy box came in. But I'm going to put half in one bowl and half in the other. So I've got 4, 5, 7. Depending on how you want to make your garland, I decided to go white, brown, and make it multicolored. You can go all one color. You can go 3 different colors, however you want to do that. But what I'm going to do is I am going to use paint and water. So I'm going to take my bowl. You can use a bowl, an old, like a Dixie cup or a Solo cup, an old jar, plastic bag works great because then you can kind of squish it around. But I'm going to just grab this bowl here and I'm going to squirt some paint in there. And then I'm going to take some water and add some water. Just a little few drops. And then I'm going to take just a paintbrush and kind of stir it around. And what I want to see is I'm going for a stained look. I should mention that before I start. I'm going for a dark wood stained look on my beads, so it's okay that they don't look a solid wood. And that's why I added the water. That's giving me that faux stained look. So I'm just mixing it around, making sure every bead has paint on it. Okay. So I probably put just a splash of water in there, and you saw the squirt of paint in there that I used. Again, you can use any color this way. Remember, lighter colors might take a little bit more, like a yellow or a orange, something like that always takes a little more paint. So play around with the consistency there. Once everything's got paint on it, I'm going to take my skewer and I'm just going to add my beads to it. This is going to help me dry my pieces, so they're not just sitting in there taking forever. The other thing you can do if you don't want a stained look is you can use your skewer to hold your beads while you paint them. And I've done that before too, where you just are painting those little guys while they're sitting on the skewer. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get them all on here. Oh my gosh, it's hilarious. I am. Okay, there's my wood beads. And I'm just going to set it right on top of my box there. So I can toss this now. I'll go clean it out. And now I'm going to do my white ones. So I've got my wood beads. Because this is a lighter color, I'm going to use more white paint than I would the dark brown, because the brown, the darker colors always cover better, so you don't need as much. And then I've got just a splash of water in there. Do the same thing, grab a brush or a stick or the back of a brush. I like to use a brush just because it kind of helps kind of paint those pieces. It helps that paint move a little bit if you have those soft bristles. I'm just going to stir this around. And again, I'm going for the faux stained look. So I want it to just look like crusty white paint pretty much on my beads. I'm not looking for a really super solid white color. I want it to kind of match my market box. And you could stain your white, you could stain them all brown first and then add that white on top, which would look really nice too. See some of the dark kind of peeking through that white. Okay. There we go. All right, I'm going to grab my blow dryer. We're going to dry the brown beads so I can use my skewer to get my white ones dry. So for all my local Joybox ladies, I don't know if you saw, but we posted a ton of new classes coming up. So make sure to check that out. We actually are headed to Circle. We've got 2 scheduled in Scobie. We're pretty excited to see if these new locations will be viable. It kind of just depends. But it's always fun to go to new places and see new faces. So I'm excited and hoping that they work out. Okay. Oh. All right, I'm going to just drop it in my box here. In this one. And I'm going to take my skewer, just kind of run it along a wet one to kind of wash it off so I don't get too much brown paint on my white beads. Although I think I'd be okay if there was a little white brown on there, because I like that rustic look. So let's get our beads on here so these white ones can dry, and then we will make our tassel. And these turned out super white for me. I might even sand them down just a little bit to remove some of the white, or even use a baby wipe. If they get to be too dark for you, don't be afraid to take a sanding paper after them, or, the baby wipe is great at removing paint before it completely sets. It's that magic eraser. And the last one. Okay, we'll set that aside for just a minute. Let that dry while we make our tassel. Okay, so the tassel maker, you want to reserve some of your jute for the beads. So I believe it is 18 inches, but let me measure. 12, 24. Okay. So I'm going to take my jute and I'm going to just measure 24 inches off, and then I'm going to cut it. Reserve this for my string for my beads. I'm hoping that's right. I feel like I measured it right. Let me double check that. $24. I would do, let me start over. Don't cut your jute. I would go 30 inches. So 2.5 ruler lengths. If your ruler's 12 inches, you're going to go 1, 2.5 and cut that. And that will give you plenty for your beads. 30 inches for your beads, and the rest can be used for your tassel. All right, then you're going to cut about 6 inches for your tassels hanger. So the little thing at the top that we're going to hang our tassel with, that's 6 inches. So you want to have that available. Okay, where am I at? That is for that. Okay. And so what I do is I take my hanger and I just lay it on the top of my tassel maker. So this is the top, this is the bottom, okay? So I just lay that on the top there and it kind of just hangs out. I hold it with my finger like this. And then I come and I'm going to start with my tassel along the top here. Here's a little tail. It sits right at the bottom and it's going up, and I'm going to grab it with my thumb. And I'm going to go over my tail or hanger. Sorry, I'm going to go over my hanger. And I'm just going to keep wrapping around my tassel maker. I want to make sure I'm going over that hanger, that it doesn't get bound up. So we kind of want to see that sticking out. Keep your thumb on this tail so it doesn't unravel. And we're just going to keep wrapping. Now I gave you quite a bit of jute to make kind of a thick tassel, or you can make a thin tassel, however you want to do it. I prefer kind of more of a smaller tassel, so I'm going to stop about right there. And that leaves me about 12 inches, just if you want to use that same size. So once you get to that thickness, you don't want to use it all, I should note. You want to have at least 6 inches to create that belly band here. So a belly band is that little guy that holds your tassel together. Belly band. Okay, so you need 6 inches for that, and you can cut that off before you start and then just use the rest of your jute if you want. So I'm going to go kind of like mine smaller. So I'm going to cut off about 12 inches. Okay. All right, so I'm going to hold it down here now. You can see I've got my hanger at the top that's wrapped underneath, and I've got my tassel is wrapped all the way around. I'm just going to kind of scoot it towards the end a little bit. It should kind of be able to freely go back and forth. Whoops, where's my piece? Okay. All right. Now we can take your excess, whether that's 6 inches, whether that's 12 inches, whatever you have left over, you can start wrapping your belly band around. So I just come in through this little opening from the back, and I'm going to give it a tie. one tie, and I'm going to take this tail and kind of hold it down here. And then I'm going to wrap it around a couple times just to create a thick band. A thicker band just looks nicer on these tassels. You want to make sure to keep your tails out of the way. They can kind of get in the way. You don't want to wrap your tails or you don't want to wrap your hanger up in your belly band, so in your band. Okay. There we go. And give it as much as you want. That's about as thick as I want it. So once I get done, here is the original tail from that first knot. And I am going to just tie it off here. And then just tug on those tails. And we're going to comb those down to help them stay flat. Now, jute is super, I don't want to say porous. It's super rugged, so you don't need to have a bunch of knots to hold it in place. I tied it once and I'm okay with that. If you feel like it's going to come undone, what you can do is tie it once and then put a little dab of super glue right here and then just hold your tails down and that will hold it forever. And that will also help your tails stay down if you're worried about it. Once it's all tied up, you can slip it off. And I'm going to slide my band up just a little bit so it's a little closer to the top here. I'm going to take my hanger and I'm going to give it a tie. And I'm actually going to do twice on this one. Okay, I've got my hanger, I've got my little knot, I've got my band, and now all we need to do is cut those loops. You stick your sticker or scissors in there, cut them, and then we're going to give it a haircut. So I'm going to take and get all of my pieces between my fingers. This is excess from my band. That's why this one's longer. And we're just going to give it a haircut. Make sure that they're all the same. And then I like to fluff it, do it again between my fingers, and just kind of trim it up if it needs to be. And I kind of just play with it. I'm going to play with those tails. Fluff them out. And then I am going to glue. I'm going to put a little dab of glue right here. On my knot, just to help, mostly to help my tails stay down. I'm going to just hold it like that. And I'm going to get a clamp to hold it for me so I can go on to the next step. It's getting late. Okay, so the glue on the knot, pull your tails down, and then clamp it and let that sit. That will help the tails lay flat and keep your knot secure. Without having a big bunchy knot, you could just double knot that and be done with it and it would be fine. But I like to have as least amount of knots in that bunch as I can. That's up to you. Okay. My white ones, I'm just going to take and grab a baby wipe and kind of wipe away some of that white. They're super white. Whoops. There goes my beads. There we go. I wanted them to look a little rustic, so I wiped some of that white away, and we will slide those off into my basket here, my toolbox, and we'll start stringing those. Okay, So I've got my string, which, if you remember, is 30 inches. So one ruler is 12 inches, two is 24, and then another 6. So 2.5 ruler lengths. And I'm going to lay this on its side while I grab my beads out. This string is thin enough that it should go through your beads without issue. But if it starts to fray and you find that it's, becoming a hassle, I take a piece of masking tape, just a small one. I'll put it on the end of my string and wrap it around. And this creates just like a little needle, or it reminds me of the end of a shoelace, that little plastic bit on a shoelace. And so that's what we're doing there. And then as you are stringing, twisting as you go helps too. Okay. And then we're just going to go back and forth between the two colors. Oh my goodness. I wasn't paying attention. I was deep in thought. And I did not go brown, white, brown, white. I was actually thinking about these beads, and I'd mentioned when we first started painting them, you can use your box to hold your beads, let your beads just roll around in your box, which then got me thinking about those art projects. I don't know if you've ever done one with your kids or seen it on social media, but they have the pizza boxes, and they add, a couple drops of paint, and then they add the marbles inside and let the kids just, move the box around. That's what it reminded me of. So then that's what I was thinking about. My beads turned out super dark this time. I must have added more paint than I originally did. I'm okay with that though. And I have 2 different sets of beads for different occasions. If your string starts to get stuck, my little piece of tape is starting to wear out. You can get a new piece of tape or use that skewer to help just kind of push it through that last little bit if you need to. Let's see, we're almost there. I thought this beaded garland would look super cute wrapped around the handle. or just kind of laying inside the basket and kind of spilling out. I keep calling it a basket. Box, toolbox. Last one. Okay, so on the last one, I'll just show you. So you should have, about 6 inches on each side. The last one I am going to wrap around this first bead and tie it between these two. You can see I did white at the top here and I have it wrapped around this last bead, and that's how I'm going to knot it. I'm just going to come back, move this bead down so I just have this first one, and this string here, I'm going to tie it around that. I'm going to tie it twice, just like a shoelace tie. I did have the name of these knots. I forgot. I'm just going to give it a quick tug and make sure it's not going anywhere. And then I'm going to cut that tail off. Okay. So we've just created a little knot along that last bead. And then I'm going to push them all back to that one. And there we go. That knot gets hidden. Typically, it will work its way into this last bead so you don't even see it. Okay? All right, so then on this end, we're going to put our tassel. So I'm going to remove my clamp. My knot's all dry. My tails are all nice and flat. Just going to comb it out. I'm going to give it a little fluff. And then what I like to do for this little top knobby bit is I like to just make it a little more round. So I'll squeeze it. So I'm just pushing the hanger bit down into this band, and it creates a nice round top instead of it looking flat. And then I kind of just play with it, squish it a little more, and we've got this pretty little top there. So then with the tail here, I am going to put my tail through, or lay it right on my tassel, better said. I'm laying it right on my tassel, and I'm going to take my 2 hanger tails and wrap it around that and tie it. Okay. And then I'm going to take one of these tails and the tail from my string of beads, the one that I laid down, and give that a tie. Pull it nice and tight. Then one last knot. I'm going to take my 2 tassel tails, give it one last squeeze, one last knot, okay? And then I'm going to cut those off. And that's it. And those can kind of get pushed down in under this little knot if they're super bulky. You can also push some of those tails back. You can use your skewer and push them up in that last bead if you want. You can add a little more flexibility if you don't want it as tight. Like if you want your garland to be a little more flexible, don't tie it as tight here. That allows it to kind of flow a little bit easier. And by that I mean, like, if I'm twisting this up. This one is a super tight garland. I made it tight, whereas this one, you can kind of see how I can pull my garland apart and there's spacing there. I let this one be super loose, so it's a little more flexible. So if I wanted to maybe even turn it inside of itself and tie it, or maybe, you know, tie it around my handle, there's a little more flexibility in how it lays if you give it more string in your garland and not tie it as tight here. Now, the upside to having it nice and tight is you don't see any string, and it can still wrap. It's just not as, you can kind of see how it's going to do that. You just have to work with it a little bit, but they both wrap. One just lays a little more loose, and you see the string. So those are the two differences there. So either a loose garland or a super tight one. It depends if you don't want to see the string or if you do. And that is kind of your bonus of your Joy Box this month. And there we are. The other thing I wanted to mention is, and I completely forgot about it, is I thought it would be super cute to put 4 beads here on the bottom of your box. It would elevate it, and I don't have any more beads. It would elevate it and kind of give it the look of some fancy little legs, especially if you're going for more of a glam rustic farmhouse, you know, and you've got these in gold, your brackets are in gold, maybe you did your beads in gold or bronze or something. You could put 2 gold beads at the bottom and just glue them down, and they would act as little legs for your box. So that's just another idea there. So I hope you enjoyed this month's Joy Box. If you have any questions or any issues, please don't hesitate to reach out, message me on Facebook, or email me at support@redbyrddesigns.com. That one is the surefire way that I will get your message. Sometimes Facebook hides my messages. Sometimes I don't get them right away. You know, it's just, that's the way Facebook is. It determines what gets seen and what doesn't sometimes. But let me know if you have any questions, and especially because we're doing something a little different with this 3D box here. When we try something new, there's always kinks and things like that. So please let me know if there are any problems. Otherwise, I hope you had a great month. I look forward to crafting with you again next month with some fall decor. So be on the lookout, or you saw it, but I can't wait to show you the surprise for that one. So I hope you guys have a great rest of the week, and we will chat with you later. Happy crafting, guys. Bye.